Alright guys, Jameson and Alex here, talking today about the Bard subclass roleplay tier list.
That's specific, yes.
Yes, if you are new to the channel or to the subclass series in general, when we're talking about the roleplay value, we're talking about interacting with the world around you, interacting with NPCs, non-combat scenarios, avoiding combat, basically things outside of the initiative order. Yes. Not talking about class fantasy, history, lore. That's on you as a player. Can't rate you, but we can rate the abilities gained and how they improve your potential in those roleplay scenarios.
That's right.
So essentially,
yes,
we're talking about the exploration and the social interaction and how the abilities gained improve your potential in those specific circumstances. So, all that being said, today we're doing part 1 of the Bard subclass tier list. And also we are doing a giveaway for the players bundle
Free
new
stuff.
round.
Free
so make sure
stuff.
you like, comment, subscribe to be entered in that. But we're going to jump straight into this with the first subclass. The way it's going to work, I'm going to give my opinion and my tier list ranking.
I'm going to tell him where he's wrong.
Yes. And we're going to end up there. Also, I'll put up on here, if I haven't already, the list as to how we get to the tier list on here. But essentially, the S at the top is going to be things that are common, that are useful in pretty much every campaign, or potent abilities. There's lots of abilities, or very potent abilities, or a combo. Or at the bottom of the tier list is going to be stuff that is very niche,
or not
never
RP related at all.
Exactly. Or it's all combat or something like that, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
So,
because those exist.
Yes, they definitely do. So the first one, I will start off with this one, is the College of Lore. So with this one, we get all kinds of stuff.
Because we're a bard.
And I will preface this as well with the Bard, as I did with the Barbarian one that we did before.
This is important.
The Bard base class is more focused on roleplay in general than some of the other classes. Probably one of, if not the most RP focused. Just because a lot of the abilities, like Jack of all traits, and even your charisma being your primary stat, is going to give you lots of RP potential, just right off the bat.
I mean, it matters because almost all of the skills that are based on either charisma, wisdom, or intelligence. So if you're a fighter or a dex-based person,
right,
you're less likely to get those proficiencies and those skill checks just as a base.
Yeah, I mean, you'll get a little bit more on the exploration side, but your social interaction side is going to be almost
non-existent. Yeah.
So with the bards having that, it's going to help them just as a floor. Of course, we're rating all of these class by class,
right?
But the way some of these things are going to synergize might get a little bit more use than if they were in some other subclass or other class in general. All that being said, anyways, back to lore. At the beginning, level 3, you're going to get bonus proficiencies. You just straight up gain 3 skill proficiencies. If
that's just not remotely RP related.
Yeah. You also get cutting words at level 3, being able to interact with the creature within 60 feet. When it makes an ability check, we're going to focus on that because we're talking about roleplay.
Yep.
To be able to expend a bardic inspiration and subtract that from their roll. So that can definitely come into play. Mm-hmm. That's definitely more of the social interaction side of things because you got to see a creature. And if you're in exploration, that's more traversing terrain kind of thing.
Yeah.
But still, that is definitely RP on there. And then at level 6, we get additional magical secrets. You're going to get more spells that you can choose from anyone's spell list, which could definitely let you diversify more into the roleplay side of things. Whereas you could definitely focus on taking more roleplay spells from the Bard spell list, or you could just take all combat-focused spells on the Bard list, which, let's be fair, Bards are mostly on the utility side of things, but they do have some
utility
combat.
and CC type things, yes.
You can definitely focus, if you want, on more roleplay spells if you wanted to do that. It's definitely an option there for you. Mm-hmm. And then at level 14, we have Peerless Skill. When you make an ability check, you can use a Bardic Inspiration to add the number to the ability check. So, you can definitely have some crazy ability check scores.
That sounds like an RP ability.
Yeah, definitely. So, as you notice on here, pretty much all of these are going to be useful. The only thing is the magical secrets is up to you.
Do you choose to go RP or combat related spells?
So, with that, all of these abilities are going to give you some roleplay potential in some way, shape, or form. And at that, pretty potent as well, I would say. So I think this was pretty much a no-brainer for me.
Whoa,
I threw this in the S tier.
Ah!
I threw it up there.
He did. He threw it up there. He threw it up there. So we're going to fight on the first
Oh,
one.
no. Already.
Yes. He said no-brainer. Apparently, I don't have a brain. And I'm not saying he can't talk me into that one because I went back and forth real hard on it because I did put it in the A tier. And really the only things I fought, because when I was doing these a lot, I'm like, okay, it's going to get, its floor is already at least this high. So what's stopping it from going up higher kind of thing? And really the only thing that helped, that made me want to knock it down just a little bit is that Magical Secrets, really two things. Magical Secrets, you really need to take RP spells for that to buff your RP.
Fair.
Or you could also make the argument that it does allow you just to take more combat spells, so you can already have taken more RP spells other ways. So that's a little bit more wishy-washy on. The one bit I actually do have to kind of poke it off its high horse a little bit is the fact that Cutting Words and the Peerless skill both take your Bardic Inspiration to use. Now, granted, you are going to have a lot of uses of it, but at the same time, you're pulling out of the same pool twice instead of maybe making this capstone skill a little bit more potent, but maybe you can't use it as often and it maybe goes off your proficiency bonus. But again, I know that wasn't really a common thing in the PHB. That didn't really come around until they did that idea with Tasha's book, where that was really a rolling thing, which I really liked. That's really the only things I have to argue why it's not in an S, but sure. You could maybe convince me.
Yeah, I think that is a fair critique there with the uses. And eventually you do get where you get them back on a short rest. I think it's relatively early on. Let's see. Yeah, Font of Inspiration, 5th level, you get them back on a short rest. But you are only getting your Charisma modifier. So at that point in time, you're not going to have a 20 score in Charisma, most likely, by level 5. It doesn't really happen unless you're rolling stats. And you're really lucky.
Those people exist.
So yeah,
there's one of them in our group.
Right. So it definitely can happen. But I think the thing with that is, with these being so potent, and it does scale to the point where
it does.
You are getting bigger Bardic Inspirations, and also with Jack of all trades factored in as well, I think that kind of helps offset that a little bit. You won't need to use it maybe as often because you have that.
This is true.
So when you do really need to push for those higher ability scores, you can use Peerless skill to do so. I guess, too, the thing with Cutting Words is it is very specific for needing a creature to be involved. But when that does come into play, you definitely have that option to where you don't feel as bad to do it. Because if you're in a social interaction, you're probably somewhere where, I mean, not always, but somewhere where you could potentially be taking a short rest relatively soon after, or you had just taken one. So, like, if you're in town or something, taking a short rest is not that big a deal. But if you're out in like a dungeon, you find some dude in some dungeon, then that's different. A circumstance where you're like, do I really want to use this or not? Because you might need it for something else.
The only other thing that I'll poke one last time with Peerless skill is it only helps you with the Peerless skill, whereas the first one, the Cutting Words, you can hurt all kinds of different targets. Where if the Peerless skill you could help you or an ally, I wouldn't even hesitate to go S. But you want to try to make one more case to...
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I'm going to say here is a D12. Like, yes...
That's a fair point.
If something comes up to where you can't necessarily help someone else, but you could step in...
Yeah.
And you're the face... I mean, you're going to be the face of the party anyway. So,
most likely.
With high charisma, 20... By the time you're getting that D12 on there, level 15... You're going to probably have it. You should better have a 20 charisma at that point. So you're going to have a 20 charisma with Jack of all trades, with all of your other stuff, and then you add a D12 on top of your roll. You're going to be rolling like high 20s, 30s, like almost every time whenever something comes up clutch. And you could save someone else, and then you can't necessarily help them, but you could step in most of the time, I think, unless it's going to be, something outside of, a charisma kind of check.
Yeah.
Where you might not be able to step in and save this bard from doing a strength check or something. But for what the bard does and what it is as a class, I think it makes the most sense just to step in there and do that.
D12, that works. we'll go S tier. It's fine.
All right, fair. So that was a hassle there.
Yeah. I made you earn that one. Next up, also from the PHB, of course, is the College of Valor. Instead of getting those extra skill checks, at 3 you're going to get proficiency with medium armor, shields, and martial weapons. So definitely combat, as opposed to these skill checks giving you some RP options. The combat inspiration that you get lets you add damage die, extra damage there, and also you can use a reaction to mess with AC. So again, that's going to be strictly combat related. You also get extra attack at 6 instead of 5, which is odd because most other base classes that get extra attack get it at 5, but you get it at 6, but you still do get at 6. And then at 14, you can use your action to cast a bard spell and then make weapon attack as a bonus action. So that's because it specifically says only when you make the attack action. That's really going to be combat only. So I had to double take myself about 7 times that I put a bard RP in the D tier, but I did it because I couldn't even find much argument for niche RP uses here in this subclass.
Yeah, I literally, I think this one's going to be pretty short because my notes literally say all abilities are completely combat focused. And I think that's pretty straightforward as well because this is probably the shortest text of any subclass, I think.
It's at least not in the Sword Coast book.
Yeah, I mean, even that, there's a couple really short ones, yeah. But I think
I bring up the cancer in every video.
But yeah, I think this one's pretty straightforward. I threw in the D tier as well, just because there's nothing.
There's just nothing there for RP, which it's just a weird thing for Bard.
To
say. But
this is one of those things where it's like you get to be a fighter without being a fighter, without multi-classing a fighter. I mean, essentially, it's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, to an extent. I mean, you get the extra attack and you gain the medium armor, shields, martial weapons. But that's what it is. I think that one's pretty straightforward on there.
Yep.
All right, so we go from a long discussion to a very short discussion.
Yes.
That'll bring us to the next one on here. Oh boy, man, I get the long ones on here. All right.
You said you wanted to do one first.
Eloquence.
What a fancy word.
Ugh. Level 3, Silver Tongue. When you make a persuasion or deception check, you treat a roll of 9 or lower as a 10.
That seems kind of RP related.
All right, that seems good.
Okay.
Yep. Unsettling words at 3rd level, bonus action. You expend use of Bardic Inspiration. Choose a creature. Roll the Bardic Inspiration. Must subtract the number rolled from the next saving throw it makes before the start of your next turn. Now this is a little bit more of a combo type of thing because if you're going to try to charm someone,
yes,
you could use this ahead of time and then charm them because you're a bard. So that definitely will help in the potential of something succeeding. It is a little bit of an extra step to do so, but it definitely can come into play for sure. And then at level 6, we have Unfailing Inspiration. When a creature adds one of your Bardic Inspiration die to its ability check, attack, roll, or saving throw, and the roll fails, creature gets to keep the Bardic Inspiration die.
It's my favorite Bard subclass ability of all Bard subclasses.
Yeah, it's so massive.
The feels bad effect is like, nah, this doesn't feel bad. Don't worry, you try again, you keep it, it's okay.
Right. It takes that whole argument of the lore with it, you having only so many uses of Bardic Inspiration, which says,
it's fine.
Don't even worry about that, it's fine. It's never going to fail. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. Level 6, we have Universal Speech. You can speak intelligible to any creature.
Yes.
As an action, choose one or more creatures within 60 feet. Up to your charisma modifier. Choose a creature understands you magically, regardless of language you speak, for 1 hour. That's plenty of time.
Yeah, it's not like 1 minute. Like you can have a full on tell a tale.
If you have a bard talking to someone for an hour, things are most likely going to go your way. Wait, let's just throw that out there.
Yeah. Unless the bard does something he shouldn't with that conversation, it may go really, really bad.
And I think the biggest key to this as well is you can use it once per long rest, but then you can use a spell slot. At any level. You can use a first level.
You a full caster. You can do that as much as you feel like you need to.
Yeah, so no problem on there. And then level 14, Infectious Inspiration. This one is just awesome. I don't even really need to go into it much. You basically just, you get a Bardic Inspiration and you get a Bardic Inspiration.
Yeah, Oprah Bardic Inspirations. Got it.
Yes. So within 60 feet of you, adds Bardic Inspiration to a dice roll for Bardic Inspiration. You can use your reaction to encourage another creature other than yourself. They can hear you within 60 feet and give them Bardic Inspiration die without expending your Bardic Inspiration uses. I mean, if lore was a no-brainer, this is even less of a no-brainer because this is clearly S tier for me as well. I think this has, like, I thought lore already, because all the abilities are giving you stuff. I mean, yes, there is this slight argument with magical secrets, but even if you indirectly do it, it's letting you indirectly take roleplay. This is just, every ability is super, super good in RP, and it's letting you use your Bardic Inspiration, making it even more impactful. So I put it in the S tier as well for this one.
No, it's S tier. Right? we had discussed the other one because I had it. Because I kind of did some of these that I was kind of waffling on, like with lore. I put A plus because I was like,
to be fair, some of the Bard ones were some of the hardest where I was like on the fence with a couple of them.
Yeah,
but
there's no fence.
This is clear.
If we just again, I'll bring up the cancer again. Just like Battle Rager has its own tier below everything else. Spoiler alert for that video. No real surprise there if you've ever looked at that one. Eloquence Bard might be like there's
its own tier.
All the way to the top there's S tier, then there's Eloquence Bard because it's literally everything you would want a bard to do in an RP setting. It does it and then does it better because it lets you do it for free extra times.
Right.
And then when you do it and it doesn't work like you want it to, aka, like being a spellcaster, you use a spell slot, it doesn't work or it doesn't do very much damage. You're like, that's okay, try again, bud. Like I just imagine an Eloquence Bard being, and because one of the friends in our play group has done this in a one shot a couple of times, is Greg the motivational speaker. Like should be an Eloquence Bard because it's just like it just builds you up. You're just ready to go. He's there, support. He's gonna clap you on the back, saying you fail. Like, it's okay, bud. You'll get the next one. You can keep that. It's not gone. I just imagine that's what this is, and it's so 100% not even an argument. And this one, I will tell you, if you don't think it's an S tier, you're wrong.
You did.
For the Eloquence Bard.
I know some people will even say that Eloquence Bard is like a power creep of Lore Bard. Like Lore Bard being as good as it is, and then Eloquence Bard just power creeping from newer stuff coming out, making it even better than that.
I could hear that argument, for sure. Yes. Finally, we are on to the College of Creation, which definitely sits as a unique in flavor.
You're talking about waffling, and this is definitely a waffler for me.
Yeah.
I was all over the place with this one.
Yes. So, starting off, we have the Moat of Potential. It's a tiny little moat of magical energy from your Song of Creation. Moat is intangible and invulnerable and lasts until the Bardic Inspiration die is lost. It looks like a musical note, a star, a flower, other symbol of art that you choose because you're a bard. And it provides an additional effect based on whether the die benefits an ability check, an attack roll, or a saving throw. So, we're going to ignore the attack roll because that's combat. Ability check. When the creature rolls a Bardic Inspiration die, added ability check, the creature can roll the Bardic Inspiration die again and choose which roll to use. So basically gives you advantage on the Bardic Inspiration die, just helping you stack that, use it very effectively. And for the saving throw, because you get like Charm and things like that we mentioned before, there are some spell type effects and saving throws you might have to do in an RP setting. But this lets you, gives you temporary hit points if you have to use a saving throw there, so that's not going to be as helpful in an RP setting, so it's definitely going to lean more on the combat side of things, even though you might have some saving throws there. All right, so at 3, you do have your Performance of Creation as well, so this basically allows you to just magically create an item, like,
yeah.
All right, but there is a gold value limit. The gold value can't be more than 20 times your Bard levels. Ultimately, if you go all the way through 20 levels of Bard, it's going to cap at 400 gold. But there are some specific spell components, technically, you could create using this. Like if you were specifically needing that kind of thing, or you need a specific tool that you don't have access to for some reason. You're like, I can make it just out of nothing. So definitely on the RP side of things. So at 6, you have the Animating Performance, which lets you animate an inanimate object, like this chair I'm sitting on. It can just be magic and then floating around. Can definitely be used in RP. Because you could definitely wow some people and they'd watch the chair dance around. But it also does get a stat block because it can fight for you as well. Doesn't have a ton of it's 10 plus 5 times your Bard level. So I guess once you do it later on, it's going to have some HP. But it's basically just do like a 1d10 plus your proficiency bonus of force damage is basically like one pop of a Eldritch Blast in terms of damage and damage type.
Right.
Not to do a whole lot in combat, but it is there and does the thing. And finally, at 14, you can create more than one magical item with your Performance of Creation. which is great that you can do more than one. But the bigger thing is you are no longer limited by gold value in creating items, and that's when things get real silly, because if this is one of those with an uncapped potential. If you're a really creative person, you can do some really interesting things with creating that kind of thing. So all that more detailed stuff, and there's a lot of wording just there to go through. I went with the A tier on creation. Once, because until you get to 14, you're limited to the number of things you can make. And it is 1 per day, unless you spend a level 2 spell slot or higher to do it again.
Right.
And the items, of course, they do scale up to a large at level 6, and then a huge at 14 if you need to create a huge item for something specific, which you can, sure. And then the animating performance is definitely interesting for flavor purposes, but I really don't know how impactful it's going to be on a regular basis.
Yeah,
that was really the biggest hit for me, what kept it out of being in the S tier, which I thought about, because of the, once you do hit 14, there is absolutely an uncapped potential for what this can do in an RP setting because of that. But 6 really makes me go like, you can make a chair dance around and do things, but how impactful is that going to be?
My thought with this one, the ability check bonus is nice. But it's advantage with your Bardic Inspiration die.
Yeah,
essentially.
Which is at cap. Sure. It's going to be a D12 instead of the D20 to start with.
Which is nice to have, but it is what it is on there. Performance of creation is definitely the bread and butter of the entire thing on here.
Yes,
it's very dependent on your creativity as a player. Mm-hmm. You would have guessed a creation bard is like that.
Wow, it's almost like it's the same root word or something.
Yeah, the gold level is the biggest hindrance, I think, for that. But as Alex said, once you get to 14, you don't care anymore, and you can make 2 things. The other thing is, obviously, you can only make so many things at a time, so you can't, go super crazy MacGyver and just start building pieces of things, because they will start poofing out of existence if you have more than the allotted number.
Yes, which is a charisma modifier, so 5 is the most you're going to get out of that.
Yeah.
So you gotta keep track of that stuff.
Right. You could do some weird, like making a ladder, but the bottom of it is disappearing as you go. So there's some very creative things.
Immovable rod,
something like that. Where you pegs into the wall and sideways ladder.
Yep.
But there's definitely stuff that can be done, which is completely up to your imagination. The dancing item, I see it more for the RP potential of that is going to be very niche, limited.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to make someone fall off a chair, or you could do some really weird stuff with it, but it's very niche, I think. And then, of course, the creative crescendo just builds up on your creating of things. I put this in A tier as well, just because, like I said, the potential is so high once you get to 14, but that can also be a lot of pressure, I think, as a player to be like, make something, and you're like, no, what's it do?
If you're not like a quick thinker on your feet, or if you're not a super abstract thinker, kind of thing.
It's almost too open-ended.
Yeah.
With the amount of things that you can do. The gold value, well, basically all the casters will love you, because you can just create regions for stuff if, DM allows that kind of thing to happen, which could get a little unruly, just creating gems for Revivify constantly, where this death is just irrelevant, unless the DM just kills whoever can Revivify. Or whatever, So that's
all I'm saying there, as a player and not a DM primarily, Wizards made it that way.
Right. So
talk to them about it.
I think the A tier is the most fitting for it. It's hard, because a very creative person, I think, could push this up to an S tier.
Yeah,
but
that's more reliant on the player.
Also, your campaign has to make it past 14.
Yes.
If you don't get anywhere near 14, it's definitely not S tier.
It's probably closer to B.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was waffling a bit. I was like, could it be up? Could it be down? I'm like, just make it A tier and keep it. So yeah, this was also, I think, when we were doing the reviews, one of the hardest ones to rate
because of the open-endedness.
So open-ended, yeah.
This is true.
But yeah, that's it. This is, Bard has a lot going on with it, with the RP. So just in general, I feel like a lot of these are.
Except for Valor. What was Valor doing?
Right, yeah. So just as a recap for this video, we have Lore and Eloquence sitting in the S tier, with Eloquence notched up a bit on here.
S plus.
Creation at the A tier, and Valor at the D tier just because of the combat.
It's all combat focused.
But yeah, that's it for this one, guys.
Yep.
Whew, if you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so our new videos are coming out. Let us know in the comments down below why we're right and why
or
anyone
wrong?
else is wrong. Nah, we're right at this.
Okay, fair enough.
No, but yeah, that's it for this one, guys. As always, thanks for watching.